Welcome to Junior Achievement's 2020 San Antonio Business Hall of Fame. I'm Janie Cook, and I have the pleasure of serving as president of Junior Achievement of South Texas. JA inspires and prepares today's students, ensuring a successful future for tomorrow's South Texas leaders. JA empowers the next generation to succeed by teaching them how to think innovatively, manage their money, and be workplace ready. Much has changed over the past year, but our commitment to tomorrow's workforce has not. None of this would be possible without our sponsor support and commitment to Junior Achievement's programs here in South Texas. Please join me in recognizing tonight's sponsors. Our presenting sponsor this evening is SWBC. Our platinum sponsors are HEB, Greehey Family Foundation, and NuStar Energy. I'd also like to thank our VIP sponsor, Citi, for their support of the Laureate Parade. Our gold sponsors are Marathon Petroleum, Jefferson Bank, Spencer Foundation, the USAA Foundation, and Valero Energy Foundation. Our silver sponsors are Clear Channel Foundation, Steve C. Lewis and Susan C. Lewis, Mission Restaurant Supply, and WOAI. Our bronze sponsors are Bill Miller Barbecue, C.H. Gunther & Son, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, Frontier Enterprises, Frost Bank, Juris General Contractors, Luther King Capital Management, Silver Eagle Distributors, Texas Capital Bank, Veracast, and Wells Fargo. Our beautiful Crystal Eagle Award sponsor is Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Once again, thank you for your support of tonight's festivities and commitment to Junior Achievement's programs, and congratulations to our 2020 Business Hall of Fame laureates. Ladies and gentlemen, representing tonight's presenting sponsor, SWBC, let's welcome Lisa Pinto, Vice President of Public Relations and Corporate Communications.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. SWBC and our owners and founders, Charlie Amato and Gary Dudley, are honored to be the 2020 presenting sponsor for this year's San Antonio Business Hall of Fame. We have a long history of supporting Junior Achievement of South Texas. Over the years, SWBC executives have served on the board, including David Horn, who has served for the past 17 years. And we've provided funding and volunteers for JA events. SWBC truly believes in this program. We appreciate all of you who have helped Junior Achievement empower, educate, and elevate tomorrow's workforce. By giving back, you are helping JA with its mission of creating leaders of tomorrow with education and financial literacy, workforce readiness, and entrepreneurship to students. We're excited to announce that during the 2019-2020 school year, even with the effects of the pandemic, JA reached over 60,000 students. Tonight, we are here to honor and celebrate our 4 laureates whose business and personal commitment has moved the greater San Antonio community in a better, stronger direction. Brad Barron with NuStar Energy, Jack Lewis III and Steve Lewis with Jefferson Bank and Mission Restaurant Supply, and Christy Prescott with Corporate Travel Planners. Each year, Junior Achievement selects esteemed local leaders based on their demonstration of business excellence, courageous thinking and action, vision and innovation, integrity, inspiring leadership, and community-mindedness. Induction into the San Antonio Business Hall of Fame is a very prestigious honor. Congratulations, Brad, Jack, Steve, and Christy. We are lucky to have y'all in our community. So what do you say we get started? To begin tonight's festivities, let's welcome the celebrities of our show, the JA students. Joining me tonight is Pablo Sotomayor, a 4th grade student at Sipple Elementary School.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pablo Sotomayor, and I am a JA student from Sipple Elementary. As a part of the JA program, My volunteer taught me all about innovation and importance of preparing myself a successful future. Speaking of successful, let me tell you about Mr. Brad Barron. Mr. Barron is the president and the CEO of NuStar Energy. He is quite the Renaissance man. Mr. Barron is a proud Red Raider, an attorney, a scholar, accomplished rock climber, literary lover, and an exotic game ranch owner. In addition to all of this, he is responsible for leading one of the largest independent liquid terminal and pipeline operations in the nation. Mr. Barron is a prime example of hard work and perseverance. As a CEO, he puts his employees first and strives to see good in people. He and the NuStar employees are building a better future for our city. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brad Barron.
Born in Austin, Texas, Brad Barron recalls an idyllic childhood. Though not wealthy, he boasts his family was rich in everything that mattered. The youngest of 2 children, Brad was raised in Corpus Christi, where Dad was a high school basketball coach and Mom a secretary at Coast State's gas company. Brad's love of the outdoors started quite early, spending lots of time with his parents and grandparents hunting, fishing, and camping. Always the hard worker, Brad held several jobs in his youth, ranging from picking sunflowers to working in the produce department at H-E-B. Brad attended high school in Round Rock, playing football, track, and basketball. While on a road trip to southern Colorado, he and Dad visited different universities along the way. While visiting Texas Tech, Brad fell in love with the campus. After graduating with a degree in business administration, Brad continued on to law school and graduated with a Juris Doctorate degree from the University of Texas. Following graduation, Brad moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico to complete a clerkship with Judge Oliver Seth. He considers Judge Seth one of his mentors and admired him most for his unique ability to engage with people, no matter who they are.
Brad reminded me of a story when he was a clerk to an appellate federal judge. The judge was kind of his mentor, but he gave him advice. He said, a good person is a good lawyer. And Brad is really a good person. He cares about people. He takes an interest in them. He treats all the employees the same. And as a result, they like working for him. And he's really a team player.
Returning to practice law in Austin, Brad soon became bored with public finance law and moved back to Santa Fe to work for a law firm. His love for adventure and the outdoors led him to join a search and rescue team. The experience was life-altering. Although training was intense, he discovered his joy for helping people. A lifelong learner, Brad enrolled as a graduate student at St. John's, where he was introduced to and fell in love with studying classic literature and philosophy. After graduating with a Master's of Liberal Arts, his view of the world completely changed. Following a visit with his parents in San Antonio, Brad moved back to Texas to work at Valero as one of 8 commercial attorneys. With the acquisition of Diamond Shamrock, he was asked to be the corporate secretary, where he had the opportunity to work with Bill Greehey. After the split of Valero and the LP, NuStar was formed, and Brad became general counsel.
Brad's a very unusual person. He's intellectual, but he's humble, and he's very focused. He and Bill have created a great culture, which is important in business today.
He has so many great qualities that leaders have. He's highly focused on what he's doing. He's disciplined. He's got a great attitude.
Brad took over as president and CEO of NuStar Energy in 2014. Under his leadership, NuStar has endured the biggest swings in energy. With over 2,000 employees, NuStar has been named one of Fortune magazine's 100 best places to work. Brad considers his legacy to continue the culture created by Bill Greehey, putting employees first and giving back to the community, and believes the more he does for his employees, the more they will do for NuStar.
Brad is humble, he's brilliant, he cares deeply about those around him and both his employees and those in the community, and he understands that he has a voice, and he uses that voice to make the world a better place.
Brad is involved in the community, serving as the 2020 United Way of San Antonio campaign chair on the Haven for Hope Advisory Board, St. Mary's University President's Leaders Council, and the Energy Advisory Council for the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. You'll often find him with NuStar employees serving meals, building playgrounds, cuddling a baby, or playing bingo with a senior citizen.
Recently, he chaired the Alamo Bowl. He's very involved in Haven for Hope, United Way, the Briscoe Museum, just to name a few. He's very passionate about the community, what he does, and personally, he's a man of all seasons.
Married to his wife Martha since 2002, he still spends lots of time with his stepdaughter Mandy and family. Brad also finds time to relax at his exotic ranch. He's an avid photographer of nature and an accomplished mountain climber. Brad is thankful for the direction life has led him to. When asked advice he'd give to young people, his message would be to get your education and never stop learning. Read a lot, develop curiosity about the world, figure out how things work.
When you look at a company like NuStar, it's a reflection of the senior leader. They leave their fingerprints all over the organization. And that's one reason why NuStar is such an incredible member of our community in San Antonio. He's someone that it's impossible not to admire.
Brad Barron, 2020 inductee into the San Antonio Business Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Pablo. This event is one that I always look forward to. It's interesting to hear the stories of the laureates and how they came to be the household names that they are. What's even more fun is to see the kids from Junior Achievement play such a large role in the production. Year after year, they steal the show with their charm and precociousness, and rightly so. The show is really about them and Junior Achievement. NuStar has always been a big supporter of JA here in San Antonio and in the communities that we serve. One of the nice things about being nominated for this award is I was able to meet with Janie Cook and hear some of the details of Junior Achievement and to sit in on some of the classes. What I really love about Junior Achievement is their curriculum has the potential to truly change the trajectory of people's lives for the better. How many people spend years overcoming bad financial decisions? Some decisions you make when you're young can set you back years, if not decades. Just a little information, or in the case of Junior Achievement, a lot of information, can literally change lives. I also want to congratulate the other laureates, Christy Prescott and Steve and Jack Lewis. I was going to say it's a real honor to share a stage with you. Since we can't do that, I will say I look forward to raising a glass in your honor next year. When Harvey Najum came to my office to tell me about this award, I was surprised. When they called from the reception desk, I actually asked my assistant, why in the hell is Harvey coming to see me? So Harvey, he comes in, he gives me a folder, and on one side of it has a list of all the past honorees. Bill Greehey, Tom Frost, Bartel Zachary, Foley Klingman, real giants of business in San Antonio. I looked at the list and I was immediately humbled they would think to include me. I do worry that someone in the future is going to look at that list, like a Sesame Street episode, and say, which one of these things is not like the others? Few people receive an honor like this based on their efforts alone. There are a lot of people to thank and recognize. For the sake of brevity, I will limit my list to 3. First, I'd like to thank and recognize the employees of NuStar. I didn't create NuStar from the ground up, but I'm honored to lead this fantastic group of employees. Day in and day out, they work hard to deliver the energy our country needs to run. It's not easy, and it calls on many complex disciplines to safely manage 9,000 miles of pipe and almost 100 million barrels of storage. I could not be prouder of what our employees do. Second, I'm surrounded by a great team of executives. In the 7 years this team has been leading NuStar, we've seen oil go from $127 a barrel to negative $37 per barrel. Needless to say, it's often challenging. This group, however, has stepped up every time. Thank you all. Finally, there's no way to talk about any aspect of my career or NuStar without talking about Bill Greehey. When I was asked to be corporate secretary of NuStar in 2002, I was in the legal department at Valero, and I was pretty comfortable doing what I was doing. I was reluctant to make a big change. I'll never forget, Greg King, who was president of Valero at the time, looked at me and said, Brad, you have to do this. You will never get another chance to work for a man like Bill Greehey. And I'm so glad that I did. In creating Valero, Bill not only created the premier refining company in North America, but but he inspired 4 other publicly traded companies, including NuStar. In addition to creating world-class energy companies, Bill did something more important. He created an employee-first culture. Bill's theory, he's been proven right many times, is the more you do for your employees, the more they will do for the community and for the shareholders. Bill has also taught an entire generation of business leaders and employees how to give back to their communities, both financially and with their time. You don't have to look far in San Antonio to see or experience Bill's generosity at work in education, in medicine, in safety net programs, and most prominently in his work with the homeless. When they were interviewing me for this video, they asked me what I thought my greatest contribution was. I told them it was carrying on the legacy of Bill Greehey. I could go on, but I think I'll just leave it there and say, on behalf of all the employees and executives at NuStar, thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Matei Williams. I'm a 5th grade JA student at Carlos Kuhn Elementary. It is an honor to introduce our next laureates, Mr. Steve C. Lewis and Mr. Jack Lewis III, who truly represent leadership, the entrepreneurial spirit, and love for their community. In my JA class, I learned about being an entrepreneur, planning for my future, and making good financial decisions. Igniting my entrepreneurial spirit and learning how to manage money wisely will help me achieve my goal of starting a family business. Just like the Lewis family, my dream is to build a legacy of excellence in contributing to the overall economic strength of our city while giving back to the community. Jefferson Bank has been a strong family-owned bank for over 70 years. Since 2007, Mr. Steve C. Lewis has served as chairman of the board, and Jefferson Bank's assets have grown tremendously. Jefferson Bank's employees devote countless hours serving the community. Mr. Jack Lewis III, CEO of Mission Restaurant Supply, also serves on the Jefferson Bank Board of Directors. Mission Restaurant Supply has been in business for over 30 years, and the Mission family also make giving back to the community a cornerstone of their culture. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve C. Lewis and Mr. Jack Lewis III.
Jack Lewis III and Steve C. Lewis were born and raised in San Antonio, the sons of Andrew Jackson, Jack Lewis II, and Peggy Lewis. Their childhood consisted of fond, close family memories, including their grandparents, who were very active in their lives. Jack, the eldest, Steve, the middle child, and their younger sister, Laurie, spent lots of weekends surrounded by loved ones and taking annual trips with the whole family. Thus begins the story of a 4-generation family-owned bank dedicated to providing the best customer service and making San Antonio a better community.
The Lewis family, the businesses they run, they're one of those rare families in business together that still like each other, that love each other.
It all began with their grandfather, A.J. Jack Lewis. In August 1946, Jefferson Bank opened its doors, and Jack Lewis eventually became the majority stakeholder. His son, A.J. Jack Lewis Jr., served as senior chairman of the board of Jefferson Bank for over 30 years. Jack and Steve Lewis followed in the footsteps of their father by completing law school and leading Jefferson Bank, along with pursuing their own endeavors. Jack has served on the board of directors since 1982. Steve has served as chairman of the bank since his father's retirement in 2007. Jack III practiced law for 9 years, but felt his entrepreneurial spirit kicking in. During a Saturday afternoon drive, he discovered and acquired Mission Ice, which later became known as Mission Restaurant Supply. Jack put his heart and soul into his business. Starting with 30 employees, the company has grown to 341 employees that value the culture Jack III has created, where family comes first. Employees are valued, respected, and compensated well.
Jack is great at relationships, and he just knows so many people, and he's so easy to talk to.
Today, Mission Restaurant Supply has 7 locations in Texas and is the largest food service equipment and supply dealer headquartered in Texas. Giving back to the community is a top priority for Mission Restaurant Supply, where over 15% of their after-tax profit is donated to Texas charities annually. Jack currently serves as chairman of the Board of Trustees at the University of the Incarnate Word. Jack's wife, Liza, whom he still refers to as the love of his life after 40 years of marriage, are the proud parents of Jack IV, Fanny, and Sally, and grandparents of 2 granddaughters. Jack is most proud of his children. His greatest joy is getting to work alongside his family.
I think he really connects people, and he's really interested in seeing people's lives transformed. And so we see that within the educational context of how seriously he takes the educational experience and how much he wants other people to succeed.
Characteristic of an entrepreneur, Steve soon discovered he could make a great living doing what he loves. While in law school, graduating and passing the bar on the first attempt, Steve established Steve C. Lewis Ranch Real Estate, raised livestock in West and South Texas, and managed 50,000 acres.
What I admire about Steve so much is his absolute avocation and dedication to making it a better place. He's one of those few people that actually puts his money where his mouth is, and he walks the walk, and he leads by example. It is not lip service with Steve Lewis, and the world's a better place because of him.
Married for 30 years to wife Susan, Steve is the father to 3 children, Kenneth, Barkley, and Richard, in whom he has instilled his values of fairness, hard work, volunteerism, and building the bank. Steve invests his time in the community too. His passion for giving kids a chance to have a better education is evident by his involvement as chairman for Choose to Succeed, whose goal is to attract high-performing charter schools to San Antonio. He is also very passionate about wildlife conservation and serves as founding member of the Texas Agricultural Land Trust. He has served in leadership roles with the Texas Wildlife Association, the San Antonio Zoological Society, and Texas Youth Hunting Association.
Steve was just, this guy's an idea train. I mean, he's a think tank, a one-man think tank, and is generating these types of ideas that are really, I mean, transformational. Steve's commitment and love for this community just pours out of you know, every pore of his body.
We're never going to solve poverty without education. And Stevie Lewis works relentlessly on education in our charter school system here in San Antonio. Jack Lewis is on the board of our Incarnate Word.
Throughout their careers, Jack III and Steve C. Lewis have honored the precedent set by their grandfather, A.J. Jack Lewis, and father, Jack Lewis Jr. of Jefferson Bank, remaining an independent family bank guided by strong family values, including giving back. Both brothers continue to serve on the board of Jefferson Bank, with the 4th generation now on board to continue leading the bank. Growing from $42 million in assets to $2 billion in assets owned in private by one family, their goal is to continue stewarding this asset to their family and children for the next 50 to 100 years. Being a good corporate citizen is and always will be part of their family culture of giving back, and supporting education inspires their employees too. Jefferson Bank and Mission Restaurant Supply employees are actively involved in the community, helping San Antonio continue to thrive.
It truly is a family that works together, that plays together, that prays together, and that stays together.
Steve C. Lewis and Jack Lewis III, inductees into the San Antonio Business Hall of Fame.
Well, I'd like to start off by thanking Junior Achievement for this recognition and to congratulate both Brad Barron and Christy Prescott for their San Antonio Hall of Fame recognition this evening as well. Both my brother Steve and I have been blessed by some really incredible people in our lives. Our grandfather, A.J. Lewis, played a huge role in our early development. He was a disciplinarian. He taught us to look a man in the eye when shaking hands. He taught us to always say yes, sir, or no, ma'am. He loved ranching, he loved cattle, and he taught both of us our love for the great outdoors. He was a founder of Jefferson Bank, and he taught us to love that institution, its customers, and all of its employees. Our mom and dad, Peggy and Jack Lewis, were simply incredible parents. They loved our sister Laurie and the two of us with all their hearts, and they instilled in us the importance of family. As for me, my greatest blessing is my wife, Liza. We just celebrated 40 years of marriage. Our 3 children, Fanny, Sally, and AJ, are the greatest gifts God could have given Liza and me. They're simply wonderful, as are Fanny and AJ's spouses, Clayton and Carolina. Fanny and Clayton's 2 boys, Wells and Charlie, are 2 of the cutest little guys you've ever seen. Liza and I got into business for ourselves 32 years ago last March. That business, Mission Restaurant Supply, now has offices in 7 cities throughout the state of Texas and has grown into the largest Texas-based food service equipment and supply dealer. Our leadership team is made up of the most dedicated individuals I have ever known. If this was not a viral presentation, I'd be asking them all to stand up right now. As a company, we've been able to give back so much to our community, and I know that our entire Mission family is really proud that we are an extraordinarily charitable corporate citizen in the areas where we operate. I've learned to surround myself with great people and then treat them like family, and then everything works out fine. Finally, I would like to thank all of our many loyal customers at Mission Restaurant Supply who are the real reason, the true reason for our success. Many of those in the restaurant community are having a real struggle in this pandemic. And to all of you, I offer my hope and my prayers as we together work through this difficult time. Thanks again for this recognition. It's much appreciated.
Good evening. I want to thank the San Antonio Business Hall of Fame for this honor. I also want to thank my wife, Susan, who has been by my side for 30 years. I want to thank my 3 sons, Kenneth, Barkley, and Spencer. I am very proud of all 3 of them. Amy Adams, thank you for the 2 of the cutest granddaughters in the country with Lily and Annabelle. I'd like to share with you a little bit about my grandfather, A.J. Lewis Sr. Jefferson Bank was started by my grandfather, A.J. Lewis Sr. in 1946. I called him Pop. He was tough. A few days I wanted to kill him, but mostly I adored him. The words that best describe him are tough but fair. Pop was raised up poor in Bosque County. He was the son of a cattle trader. Pop worked his way through the University of Texas and then on to UT Law School. In the daytime, he worked for Texas Department of Banking. In October of 1929, Pop was 27 years old, working for the Texas Banking Department and going to law school at night. In the Great Depression, Pop's duty with the banking department was to chain the doors of failed banks on Friday afternoon. That experience forged a conservativeness within my grandfather that he never grew out of. In 1946, a group of San Antonio businessmen wanted to form a de novo bank called Jefferson State Bank in the Jefferson High School neighborhood. They had their money put together. However, the Texas Banking Department pointed out that they needed a good president to run the de novo bank. The businessmen asked the banking department if they had any suggestions. They said Jack Lewis from San Antonio would be a great candidate. The investor group approached Pop, and he accepted their offer to become the founding chairman and president of Jefferson Bank. He purchased 10% of the stock at this de novo level. They made a deal. The initial capitalization was $125,000. Can you imagine that today? In the 1950s, Pop bought them out and purchased control of the bank. Today, his heirs have bought more shares, and we control 86% of the stock. When Pop died on January 30, 1981, the bank was about $35 million in total assets. Today, we are $2.2 billion and growing. We have weathered the 1986 through 1992 collapse in Texas. We weathered the Great Recession in 2008. Today, we are navigating well through the COVID-19 pandemic. I think the chains my grandfather used in the Great Depression still gird the Jefferson Bank in 2020. I want to thank A.J. Lewis Sr., my grandfather, for providing the base upon which we have built a very fine family-owned bank. I want to recognize and thank my father, A.J. Lewis Jr., for building Jefferson Bank during his tenure as chairman from 1974 to 2006. In 74 years, we have only had 4 CEOs. They are Danny Butler, Richard Pettit, Byron LaFleur, and Tom Murrah. I thank them all as they did the heavy lifting. I thank my family for giving me the opportunity to serve as their chairman since 2006. Lastly, and most importantly, I thank our team of officers and employees at Jefferson Bank. They are our greatest asset. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brooke Taylor. I'm a 5th grade JA student from Specht Elementary. It is a pleasure for me to introduce our final laureate, Mrs. Christy Prescott of Corporate Travel Planners. When I learned I had the honor of introducing Mrs. Prescott, I immediately did some research. She is the founder of Corporate Travel Planners and is known as a trailblazing entrepreneur and philanthropist for over 28 years of success. Her first mentors, Jim and Arlene Davey, taught her all about owning and operating her own business. I am so glad to have a JA volunteer to inspire me to dream big like Mrs. Prescott. Corporate Travel Planners is now the top travel agency in Texas. It must be a fun place to work, because her employees rave about how much they like working there. Mrs. Christy Prescott also devotes countless hours raising lots of money for charities in San Antonio and across the state of Texas. She's an inspiration for a future businesswoman like me. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Christy Prescott!
Growing up in Nebraska and Kansas, Christy Prescott is the oldest of 3 children. After moving to Kansas in the 1st grade, Christy enjoyed spending summers with her grandmother. It was then that a young entrepreneur and businesswoman was born. Christy would make crafts, potholders, and pincushions, and, prompted by her grandmother, go door to door selling them to neighbors. After the passing of her mother at a very young age, Christy's role turned to caring for her brothers. Her level of responsibility increased along with her resilient spirit. After high school, she enrolled in travel school and worked as a travel agent for a small agency. After convincing a coworker to get away for the weekend, they selected San Antonio as their destination. She fell in love with the city. She began working for Travel Planners, owned by Jim and Arlene Davey. During her time there, the Davies mentored her and treated her like a daughter. At age 28, Christy put together a business plan and called Jim Davey to request a meeting. Jim invested, and Christy became the owner of Corporate Travel Planners after presenting a $300 check to the bank.
It's amazing how she's grown and some of the things she's done in her career, and just watching her blossom was just amazing.
Sirius Computers owner Harvey Najum stepped into her office one day and asked to borrow her telephone. He became her first client and still is a client after 29 years. Christy was the CEO, but also assumed the role of customer service manager, sales representative, and travel agent. She soon acquired other big clients and was able to start hiring employees. The company was profitable for many years.
What she's done with corporate travel, started it by herself in 1988, almost 32 years ago, and built it up to where it is today, probably the #1 travel agency in San Antonio. And then what she does to give back to others.
Enduring the effects on the travel industry due to 9/11 and the 2008 recession, Christy guided the company through difficult times and grew Corporate Travel Planners into one of the largest privately owned travel agencies in the nation. With 2019 gross revenues of over $242 million, Corporate Travel Planners has also been recognized as the top woman-owned business in San Antonio, one of the top 25 travel agencies in Texas, and among the top 50 in the nation.
Christy understands that what's relevant today may be irrelevant tomorrow and is very good at making changes to meet the demands of her clients and her travelers.
With all the success of corporate travel planners, Christy is passionate about giving back to the community. She founded Christy's Hope for battered women and children, an annual gala and golf tournament to help stop the vicious cycle of domestic violence, a cause very near and dear to her heart. In its first year, Christy and her team raised $24,000, growing to $950,000 in 2019. But that's not all. Christy supports the SA Sports Foundation, Texas Medal of Arts, the SA Stock Show and Rodeo, and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
When you think about leadership in the city and some of the companies in San Antonio, some of those leaders are measured by the growth of their company. They're measured by how their companies do, how prominent those companies are in the city of San Antonio. But when you think about what Christy brings to the table and how she encompasses a type of person that we all would like to be, that I would like to be, somebody that I have so much respect for, somebody that has given so much back to the community.
Christy acknowledges she's very fortunate to have a great group of mentors that have guided her along the way. Bjorn Dibdahl, Sam O'Krent, Mark Ambrose, and Larry Gottsman have met every week for the past 19 years. She considers her greatest achievement to be the fact that she has survived and thrived in the travel industry for over 28 years. She's changed the business model, resulting in double-digit growth for the last 3 years.
Christy never sees a problem other than an opportunity to create a solution and move on. She's just incredible.
She values the longevity and loyalty of her employees, along with the company culture she's created. A family environment that is flexible and gives back to the community.
She has a great management style. She trusts her people. She empowers them. She gives them not only responsibility, but authority. And when things go wrong, she looks in the mirror.
Christy is married to Greg Prescott, whom she fondly refers to as incredible. She has 4 children: Courtney, who works alongside Christy, Morgan, Mason, and Carson. When asked about the advice she'd pass along to her children, Christy said she would tell them to treat others well, always be respectful and kind to everyone, always give back, and appreciate everyone and everything. Nothing comes easy, but always give 150% and put your heart into everything you do. Christy Prescott, 2020 inductee into the San Antonio Business Hall of Fame.
It seems like yesterday that a $10 standby pass on Southwest Airlines led me from Nebraska to San Antonio, and it was truly love at first sight. I'll be honest, I did leave 18 feet of snow behind. I'm very grateful to the city of San Antonio. I don't know that if I could have built a company like CTP in any other cities. A couple by the name of Jim and Arlene Davey took a chance on this young Nebraska girl. We opened our bank account with $1,000. My investment was $300. I eventually, several years later, bought them out of their 70% for $290,000. I have met and had the absolute pleasure of working with some of the most talented travel professionals, clients, and suppliers in my 29 years. I firmly believe the success of CTP is due to leading with a servant's heart and being a trustworthy company with integrity. We have worked tirelessly to move forward in an industry that many considered to be dying. We survived not only 9/11, but then the Great Recession, and now COVID-19. Many have wondered and asked, why do we do what we do? And it's quite simple. We are here to serve and to exceed expectations. I want to congratulate my fellow inductees. You have been a beacon of leadership in the San Antonio area for decades. Thank you to Junior Achievement, the committee who dedicated hours of time and your talents to this endeavor. Harvey, Larry, and Roll, thank you for your amazing friendship, your love, and your support. Lastly, and certainly not least, thank you to my beautiful family, my husband, Greg, my daughters, Courtney and Morgan, my sons, Mason and Carson. You are my rock, and I love you.
Not long ago, they were Generation Z, Gen Z, Zoomers. But now, they are the pandemic generation, the lockdown generation. The question is, will they become a lost generation? The new normal has been an overwhelming experience for all of us, but an especially profound one for today's young people. For many, their hopes and dreams have vanished before their eyes, and the future remains uncertain for the rest. What happens to them today will shape the way they see the world tomorrow. Will they view our nation as a land of hope, opportunity, and unlimited potential, or as something else entirely? Waiting to see what happens isn't an option. The time to act is now by giving them the tools, resources, and support they need to navigate uncertain times, reach their potential, and create a better future for themselves, their families, and communities. Junior Achievement's proven programs can help them do just that, but we can't do it alone. We are prepared to deliver life-changing experiences to young people, whether they are in person or virtual. But we need your support now if we are to make this happen. An investment today can help create a brighter and more just future. But hope can't wait.
Good evening. I'm Craig Boyan, President of HEB and Chairman of Junior Achievement of South Texas. Thank you for participating in this virtual event. A virtual event isn't what any of us hoped for, but we've all had to adapt in a COVID world. At HEB, we've had to adapt in many ways to COVID in the rapidly changing markets, just as our Laureates and their businesses have had to adjust their businesses, especially in the supremely challenging oil markets, restaurant supply businesses, and the corporate travel business. The pandemic has pushed leaders and our organizations beyond anything we could have ever imagined, and it's threatened the lives and the livelihoods of so many. Our team at Junior Achievement of South Texas has also had to adapt to this new world with more digital programs and virtual education. Given the challenges our kids face, the JA mission of inspiring and preparing young people to succeed in the global economy and teaching Texas kids the life skills and financial literacy skills they'll need for their futures is so important. Especially now, it's critical for our next generation of Texans to learn these very valuable life lessons. Thank you to Janie Cook, our president of Junior Achievement of South Texas, in her first year at Junior Achievement after a distinguished career leading other nonprofit organizations in Texas. It's been a heck of a first year for Janie and her team, and I've been so proud of her and our JA staff and volunteers for all they've done to continue to teach kids and inspire thousands of children around South Texas. Despite the shortened school year this year, JA still taught over 60,000 students this year in South Texas. Amazing and inspiring work. Thank you all. I'd also like to especially congratulate this year's Hall of Fame laureates. My friend and this year's United Way Chair, Brad Barron of NuStar Energy. Steve C. and Jack Lewis III from Jefferson Bank and Mission Restaurant Supply, and Christy Prescott of Corporate Travel Planners. I'd also like to thank Charlie, Gary, David, Lisa Pinto, and the entire team at SWBC for their support of JA and for being our title sponsors of the JA Hall of Fame event. We're so grateful to them and the support they provide to so many organizations. As you watch our virtual event, I encourage you to donate and support JA reaching more kids in South Texas by clicking on the link below the video on your screen. And now it is my honor to introduce you to our final student of the evening, Miss Michaela Alvarado, JA student from Marshall High School.
I am unwritten, can't read my mind, I'm undefined. I'm just beginning, the pen's in my hand, ending unplanned. Staring at the blank page before you, open up the dirty window, let the sun illuminate the words that you cannot find. Reaching for something in the distance, so close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibitions, feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Drench yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins, the rest is still unwritten. Oh, I break tradition, sometimes my tries are outside the lines. We've been conditioned to not make mistakes, but I can't live that way, no. Staring at the blank page before you, open up the dirty window, let the sun illuminate the words that you cannot find. Reaching for something in the distance, so close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibitions, feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Drench yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins, feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Drench yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins, the rest is still unwritten. Open up the dirty window, let the sun illuminate the words that you cannot find. Reaching for something in the distance, so close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibitions, feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Drench yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins, feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Drench yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins, the rest is still unwritten. The rest is still unwritten. The rest is still unwritten.